Covering South Texas and the world, KGNS News at 10 starts now.
Because as president of the board, in the bylaws, it states that I have a right to place those items on the agenda.
Well, controversy is brewing at Laredo Community College after a report of questionable behavior on campus is released. Good evening, Laredo. I'm Adriana Arce. Laredo Community College board members are currently not allowed to take action on matters regarding staff or employees. It's a result of a lawsuit brought forth by a fellow trustee against the president. KGNS News reporter Valerie Gonzalez explains what's at the source of this issue and what will happen next. Valerie.
Yes, Adriana, in the day ahead, LCC Board President Hilario Cavazos will be in court. The judge will be deciding whether or not the board's deciding powers will be reinstated. LCC board members were set to have a meeting on Tuesday to discuss items set forth by President Hilario Cavazos. One of the items was to discuss the contracts of 2 employees that, according to a police incident report, were caught engaging in a possible sexual act on campus.
So I think that sets a bad precedence for the college, and it hurts the image, and I feel that we need to take some action. Yes, she will be given her due process, but I have to think of the image of the college as a whole.
That incident report Cavazos is talking about was filed last year in May. He recently acquired that report, but felt the board should have been notified sooner.
And the president failed to tell the board members about this incident.
One of the employees whose contract was to be discussed says she was denied due process. In it, she says, inaccurate and misleading information has been shared publicly through the media despite an active restraining order. I still have not been officially notified why my job might be in jeopardy. If I receive any official notice, I will respond in the appropriate venue. One of the board members, Trustee Mercurio Martinez, says he too believes protocol was broken.
Well, apparently, those 2 employees were not properly notified that they were going to be on the agenda. They needed to have been properly advised before it would be addressed by members of the board.
Martinez filed a restraining order and injunction against the college and Cavazos. It temporarily prevents them from taking action on this or any other items placed on meeting agendas. Cavazos counters.
First of all, I do want to give them due process.
Had the board discussed the employees' contracts, Cavazos says they could have taken action.
In other words, that night, the most that could happen to them, if the board chose to do so, is put them on paid administrative leave.
If the items would have remained on the agenda, Martinez is concerned about the possible consequences.
I feel very strongly that the college can be exposed to a major lawsuit.
While a call was placed to LCC President Dr. Juan Maldonado, he could not be immediately reached for comment. Meanwhile, the incident report on hand was released to the media, by the college. A letter by the Attorney General's office states it is public record.
Thanks a lot, Valerie. So for now, Cavazos will be in the 341st District Court tomorrow morning. A judge will decide whether or not the injunction can be lifted. Let's take a look at your first weather right now. Your temperatures at the airports are looking like this tonight. Temperatures pretty nice out there at 70 degrees. Humidity is at 78%, and those winds are coming in from the southeast at about 7 miles per hour. Let's take a look at temperatures that you can expect overnight. Temperatures hitting 65 degrees. That would be by 11 p.m. By 2 in the morning, dropping just a bit to 63 degrees, and by 5 in the morning, temperatures hitting a bit cooler 60 degrees. So border security was a topic in a speech given today by Congressman Henry Cuellar. He addressed members of the First Methodist Church this morning. Cuellar says the possibility of immigration reform is off the table till the next congressional elections. For now, executive orders by President Obama declaring deferred deportation for some undocumented immigrants is in effect. The order is a result of strains on the government to keep up with the number of detainees. He says he supports spending to provide for more manpower.
You got to have ICE agents so they can see who needs to be deported and who needs to be detained while they're being deported, if they're going to be deported under current law. The other thing is judges. You know, the backlog that we have, is tremendous. And if you don't have judges that can determine the petitions that those folks will be asking, then those cases are backlogged. Those people will stay here for a long time.
Well, Cuellar voted with the majority of House members Thursday night on a spending bill to avoid a government shutdown. Happening now, gas prices could be your biggest gift this holiday season. Across the nation, they continue to drop to an average price of about $2.64. In Laredo, according to GasBuddy.com, you can find a gallon for as low as $2.29 over at the Shell on Saunders and on the Loop. Economists say that every penny that gas prices fall puts $1 billion back into Americans' pocket. The average price in town is $2.42. And it's not baseball season just yet, but the city of Laredo is hoping for a better turnout in the coming year over at Unitrade Stadium. As city officials tell us, it turns out they've never funded for marketing. KGNS News reporter Christian Von Preysen explains a big change they hope will put more attendees in their seat.
The city of Laredo is looking at spending just over $1 million a year on stadium expenses, including management contract, maintenance, and marketing. They hope that amount will do the trick. At the corner of Jackman Road and Sinatra Parkway, businesses are going up. It's where Zulia Conde manages Quinto Sol. She says having a baseball stadium down the street helps bring in a bit of business.
People after the event comes to get like juices, the people that go like sports.
From now till baseball season, the parking lot at the stadium is relatively empty. Councilmember Esteban Rangel says the city needs to drum up enthusiasm to make more use of the investment.
We can't have $20 million just sitting there on a building that's not going to be used.
They're working out a contract with the new owners of the Laredo Lemurs, who will also be paid to run the stadium. Laredo Baseball Holdings will be paid $250,000 a year, depending on profits. Also in the budget, $600,000 for maintenance and an added $200,000 a year for marketing, which they've never allocated before.
So we're going to make sure that, we have the Unitrade Stadium as one of our flagships so we could pretty much sell Laredo.
$1 million in expenses, and aside from that, $700,000 up front to cover extra debts and improvements. All this is a big investment they hope will attract more fans in the coming year. Right now, a contract has not been approved in its final form. If that gets done soon enough, the marketing plan may begin promotions with enough time before Lemurs baseball starts back up in May.
Thanks a lot, Christian. Well, the city and the management company for Unitrade have a profit-sharing agreement where the city gets 60% of all profits earned at the stadium. In your health alert, just a heads up, tomorrow is the deadline for Americans who get or plan to get their insurance through Obamacare. For those who want health insurance coverage starting January the 1st, you must choose a plan no later than Monday, December the 15th. Now, if you've already have insurance through healthcare.gov, tomorrow is the last day to make changes to your coverage. And if you do nothing, your plan choices remain the same for 2015, and you automatically agree to any premium increases. About 6.7 million people have health insurance through so-called Obamacare. And still ahead, former Vice President Dick Cheney refuses to call the enhanced interrogation techniques torture. His response are next, but first, a look at your almanac.
You're doing good. You're doing good. Keep it up. Good job, everyone.
Can they skip it?
Can you guys skip it? Stand by.
It's time for your KGNS First Alert Forecast.
Welcome back to KGNS. Let's take a look at your weather tonight. Your temperatures have been beautiful all throughout the day. Yesterday as well. It's been a great weekend. Temperatures right now are sitting pretty at 70 degrees. Humidity is climbing to about 78%. Those winds are calm. Coming in from the southeast at about 7 miles per hour. Across South Texas, this is what we're seeing. Just up north of us in Cotula, 65 degrees. So getting a bit cooler as we head up north to San Antonio, to Austin. 67 degrees is what they're seeing. Pretty much the trend throughout all of South Texas is the upper 60s. The valley is hitting temperatures of 69 degrees down in McAllen. So overnight, your temperatures will dip down to the 60s as well, like those other cities just seeing right now. 61 degrees is what you can expect in the overnight hours. Partly cloudy skies and those winds calming down, coming in from the southeast at 3 to 7 miles per hour. Let's take a look at your 7-day weather forecast and what you can expect throughout your coming week. Your Monday starts off pretty hot, so your week starts off pretty warm at 80 degrees for your high, 62 for your low. So you saw that humidity rising on that forecast. So there's a slight chance of showers coming our way, but a good chance would be on Wednesday when we could actually see some raindrops with 30% chance of showers. Highs at 68 degrees, lows in the 60s. And then temperatures start to rise as you head off into your next weekend. So today, U.S. officials are debating the definition of torture and a controversial Senate report that detailed the harsh techniques adopted by the CIA. Former Vice President Dick Cheney is among those defending the tactics adopted in the days after 9/11, saying that they were not only necessary, but saved lives. Of course, not everyone agrees. Brian Moore has that story.
It's a cheap shot.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney is defending the way terror suspects were treated after 9/11.
I'd do it again in a minute.
And he's denouncing a Senate report outlining the CIA's harsh interrogation techniques.
Waterboarding, the way we did it, was in fact not torture. Now, when you're dealing with terrorists, the likes of Al-Qaeda or the likes of ISIS, I haven't seen them waterboard anybody. What they do is cut their heads off. What they did to 3,000 Americans on 9/11, that was brutal, bloody murder.
But Senator John McCain, tortured as a POW in Vietnam, says what the CIA did was wrong and Americans need to know.
I think in retrospect, some of these practices fly in the face of everything that America values and stands for.
The CIA official who ran the program insists it saved lives.
And we knew that there were threats against us, including a second wave of attacks, and we needed to do something different. And this was something different, and actually it worked very well.
This former CIA chief says he's glad he didn't have to decide.
If we had not done this and a subsequent attack would have taken place, what would today's conversation be like?
Now the conversation is about torture and whether Americans crossed the line to keep our country safe. Brian Moore, NBC News, Washington.
Meanwhile, while there's been some talk about prosecuting people involved with the interrogation program, Attorney General Eric Holder says that's not likely because the Bush administration lawyers and the Justice Department had signed off on the interrogation techniques. And coming up, it's an update to a story you saw first right here on 8. Mr. John Barry is now moving. But first, we'll tell you why a jailed American is calling out the U.S. government. That's next. Welcome back. Well, an American who said he crossed illegally into North Korea gave an unusual press conference in the country today where he denounced the U.S. political and economic system. The man is identified as 29-year-old Arturo Martinez, a U.S. citizen born and raised in El Paso. His mother tells CNN that Martinez has a history of mental instability and a bipolar diagnosis. Arturo said that he entered the country by crossing the border with China. At today's news conference, Martinez criticized Washington for renewed fighting in Iraq.
The illegal war carried out against the nation of Iraq serves as a perfect example of how the U.S. government acts much like a mafia enterprise.
Well, it's been reported that he entered the country on November the 6th, 2 days after the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, visited the country as well. A veteran who is living in impoverished conditions is getting ready to move. A group of volunteers got together to build World War II Navy veteran John Barry a new home. The home has been built to accommodate Barry, who is disabled. He says he likes what his new home looks like.
But it looks real nice from what it was before. The outside also looks real nice. So actually, I think I'd be well satisfied with it. Of course, I got the old building back there, and that's where I've lived for 10 years.
And it's quite a nice story that we've covered of Mr. Barry. His new home will have central air conditioning. Some appliances are already being installed, and it's projected that Mr. Barry could move in by Christmas. It's a musical act of religious devotion for many Catholics in Mexico. When we come back, the sights and sounds of the matachines and what it means to pass on the ritual dances.
Joseph's gonna tell me this.
Why?
She says why. Mr. Monkey.
Shut up.
Dirty away. To smile more.
My mouth hurts.
Stand by.
Well, Friday was the last day in a 9-day celebration known as La Novena. Over those nights, participants honored the Lady of Guadalupe. KGNS News reporter Christian Von Preysing followed the congregation of the Santa Teresa Catholic Church in the Las Lomas Colonia. He shows us why they continue their tradition for a younger generation.
It's a Mexican tradition that us as Hispanic want to keep on teaching our kids. Most of the people in this area do come from Mexico, so that's why it is very important for us here in this area. Every house has the pleasure of spending the night with Our Lady of Guadalupe. For all Mexican Americans, we, in one way or another, we do know what it means. Danza, it's called danza, and they dance. We dance our way out with the Virgin and take her to another home.
Well, Well, it's been a very exciting weekend with the celebration for us here in Laredo and also in sports.
That's right. Big night in sports, including the Cowboys and Eagles in an NFC East battle for the top of the division. We'll have more on that coming up. Plus, the Spurs without Tony Parker tonight, but would that keep them from winning in the Mile High City? Highlights from Denver coming up next.
Because it didn't run in the day ahead animation.
Because it what?
It didn't run the day ahead animation.
Did you hear that? What's happening the next day?
For him, for his own. Time to turn off my mic.
Your mic is on.
I know, time to turn it off.
Oh, turn it off.
Tell them we're on simulcast when they turn it on.
Stand by.
From the gridiron to the links, it's time for KGNS Sports with Ryan Bailey.
Tonight saw the two best teams in the NFC East face off in Philadelphia as the Cowboys look to avenge a 33-10 Thanksgiving Day loss at the hands of the Eagles. Des Bryant getting into a bit of a shouting match with the Eagles. Malcolm Jenkins before the game. Opening kickoff of this one, Josh Huff going to let it bounce on the ground for the Eagles. Not sure what he's doing, but the Cowboys going to end up recovering this one. They're in the red zone early on in this one. The Eagles just handing the ball over. Ensuing drive, DeMarco Murray, the 1-yard plunge. He's going to find his way into the end zone. 7-0 Cowboys with the lead. Later in the first, Bryant going to get to work on Jenkins. Nice grab here, one-handed snag out of the air, 4-yard touchdown pass, 14-0 Dallas. Second quarter now, Tony Romo, he's going to go back to Bryant time and time again. This time, a 26-yard strike, 21-0 Cowboys. These two teams trade blows down the stretch, but it's Dallas that comes away with a 38-27 victory, and with it, sole possession of first place in the NFC East. Well, the Texans taking on the AFC South leading Colts in Indianapolis, a place where Houston has yet to win in franchise history. First quarter, 3rd and 9 for the Colts. Andrew Luck can be picked off by Kendrick Lewis. He takes it back to the house, just getting into that end zone. 7-0 Texans in business early. First play of the second quarter, 3rd and 4 for Luck. He's going to hit Hakeem Nicks across the middle. Nicks pinballing his way into the end zone. 26-yard pitch and catch. 7 all in this one. Later in the second, Luck back of the end zone. He's going to connect with Dwayne Allen, make it 14-7. Indy with the lead. We move to the fourth quarter after these teams trade field goals. Tom Savage now in the game. We'll have more on that in a second. He's picked off by Vontae Davis, putting the capper on this one. Houston falls 17-10 as the Colts lock up the division title with the win as the Texans fall to an even 7-7. Well, one big development to come from this one in that second quarter. Houston quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick left the game after breaking his leg, ending his season. Fitzpatrick had rolled to his left for a 2-yard gain when he was taken down. The quarterback would get to his feet momentarily, but fell back to the turf, eventually needing a cart to get him off the field. Prior to getting hurt, Fitzpatrick was 3 of 6 for 30 yards in this game, and it was tied at 7 when he left. Rookie Tom Savage would come in, getting his first action of the season. He went 10 of 19 for 127 yards in the loss. Coming off a loss on Friday, the San Antonio Spurs look to bounce back tonight as they went to the mile-high city of Denver. Head coach Greg Popovich and the Spurs taking on the Nuggets this evening without point guard Tony Parker. First quarter, Tim Duncan with the block. Quick outlet pass to Corey Joseph. Hits him perfectly on the run. 11-10, Spurs up by 1. Later in the quarter, Manu Ginobili working off the screen from Aaron Baines. The former Coug big man dunking it home. 22-20, Nuggets up by 2. Third quarter, more from the Spurs on the run. Kawhi Leonard with the block on one end. Ginobili going to dish it back to the small forward for the slam. 60-46, Spurs in the lead. Fourth quarter, the lead down to 8, and errant pass going to end up in the hands of Kawhi Leonard. He dishes off to Joseph for the layup. The Spurs go on to an 8-point win, thanks to 6 different players scoring in double figures tonight. Well, the Nixon Mustangs taking on former District 29 4A mates Flower Bluff in the consolation game of the Pride of Texas tournament yesterday. Final minute of the third quarter, Joey Varela pushing the pace, hits Hector Ibarra for the layup. The Hornets cut that lead down, or the Hornets lead is down to 8. Crazy played in the quarter here. Ricky Reyes has his pass picked off. Hornets almost give the ball right back instead, and over the back, behind, no look pass, ends up in the hands of Flower Bluff. He hits the buzzer-beating 3, 47-36 into the fourth. Nixon still in this one, though. Varela coming up from the corner. His 3 is good. The lead back down to 6. He's going to finish with 16 on the night. That's about as close as Nixon gets as they fall to Flower Bluff 61-44, finishing in 4th place at the Toloso Midway Tournament. Down in the Valley, the Martin Tigers finished the Hidalgo tournament by winning the blue bracket with 4 straight victories. The Tigers were led by Angelo De Los Santos as the junior combined for 60 points in their 2 games. Also in Hidalgo, the Cigarro boys fall in their first game of the day, losing to Mission's Veterans High by 10, and then again to Galveston's La Marquis by 20. The Toros finishing 4th place out of 16 teams in that tournament, with TJ Scott being named to the All-Tourney team. And finally, St. Augustine falls in district action to John Paul II, 60-45. Antonio Rodriguez leads the night with 22 on the road. St. Aug falls now to 1-2 in district play.
A lot going on, Ryan.
A lot going on.
Thanks a lot, Ryan. And it's been a beautiful Sunday. Here's a look at what the day looked like this morning at the City of Laredo Cemetery. People also took the time to visit their dearly departed loved ones. When we come back, I'll tell you what the rest of the night will look like. Don't go away. Well, temperatures tonight falling into the 60, 65 degrees within the next hour or so. 63 degrees by 2 in the morning. By 5 a.m., temperatures dropping all the way down to 60. So what do you think about the weather lately, Ryan?
Very Christmas-like in Laredo.
Beautiful weather. That's all the time that we have for now, but we'll see you back here tomorrow.